Don't mean to bring up an unpleasant subject, but tax day is just weeks away. However, thanks to the federal government celebrating Emancipation Day on Friday, April 15th, you're free to mail in your return on April 18th. No matter the date, are you prepared? And do you know how to avoid an audit? Let's bring in someone who can help. The lady known as Tax Mama, Eva Rosenberg. Eva is the author of the Tax Reducing Strategies book, Deduct Everything. Eva, it's so good to have you tonight on Newsmax Prime. But let me just ask this at the outset. What makes a taxpayer more likely to get audited?
Well, you know what, JD? Doing things carelessly and living on myths will get you audited. So if you really have any kind of issues, it helps to do your research or get a tax pro in your corner.
All right, well, let me ask you about one myth. In fact, my wife and I were talking about it. The notion that you put your tax return in the mailbox as close to midnight on tax deadline date as possible, there's less of a chance of getting audited. Is there anything to that?
No, back in the day when we actually did tax returns on paper, the IRS would pick up their audit choices from the entire pool of tax returns filed and extensions, so it didn't matter. These days, we're doing it all electronically. So again, it makes no difference.
All right, but before we let you go, got about a minute, is there one tip that just about everybody can use but they overlook?
Yeah, take good documentation on everything. If you have documentation on everything you spend, we can find some place to use it legally. If you don't have it, then we're in trouble trying to get you a deduction.
And thus the name of your book, Deduct Everything. But of course we should add the subtitle, but have the proper documentation. We've got it. Eva, it is so good to have you, the self-described tax mama. Eva Rosenberg, thanks for an encouraging word as we prepare our taxes for mid-April. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you, and have a less taxing day.
Amen. I'll agree to that. Thanks, Eva. Now, it's time for the way you see it, your comments via social media. We hear first tonight from Rick, who writes in about the GOP establishment trying to take the nomination away from Donald Trump. Here's what he writes. If the GOP decides not to allow Donald Trump to run in the general election, what would happen if all the Donald Trump supporters failed to vote in protest? I don't want to think about it. I sure don't want to think about the election going to Hillary. Next, it's Gigi who writes in that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Pundits will go to their grave waiting for the demise of Trump. We, the people, are not listening to the mainstream media, talk radio, or the GOP. They might as well be talking to the wall. But Gigi, we're glad you watch us here on Newsmax TV. Finally, we hear from Wolfgang, who enjoyed the parody we ran last night of 3 Republican presidential candidates in cameo roles in the introduction to the old Munster show. And he writes, JD, I bet you're right. All 3 candidates probably enjoyed this clip as well as the rest of us. Trump's magnificent portrayal of Herman most certainly brought a smile to the late, great Fred Gwynne in heaven. You know, that's a good thought, Wolfgang. Hey, listen, if you've got some comments for me, send them to me at newsmaxtv.com/comments. And to get you ready for the weekend, since so many people like that Munsters clip, here it is once again. Stay brave, stay free, stay tuned.